All right, good morning, Canada. All right, so this is a story that definitely sparked a conversation in our office. This week, CTV's Glenn McGregor released the results of an exclusive investigation. It found travelers from the Middle East and countries where most people are black were more likely to face luggage searches or additional questioning by Canada Border Services agents than those from countries where people are mostly white. So this got a lot of people talking about their experiences crossing the border. And that's the focus of today's Your Take. Good morning, Linz.
Good morning,
AM. You know, it is one of those conversations. Talking about race does make people feel a little bit uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean we don't have the conversation, right? We're a family here. We're going to have it, and we're going to do it respectfully. But I would like to know, does this resonate with you?
Yeah, well, I'm saying to Lindsey, unless you don't know, then you don't know. And if you're a non-white person and you travel across the border, this is something that you know about. This is something you talk about. So my passport is Canadian, but my country of origin is Sri Lanka. So when I first started traveling with my husband, I said, just be prepared. I usually get either, pulled over for extra questioning or whatever else. And he didn't believe me. He thought I was making it up until he started to travel with me. I've since mentioned this to other producers that we travel with, and they've now noticed it as well. So it becomes normal, but should it be? And, I know the minister said he's going to look into it. I don't know how much more he needs to look into it. He could just, come and have a conversation with somebody who's non-white about what it's like to travel across the border. And, it's not that people are rude about it. They don't interrogate you. I've seen other people who maybe have had unfair treatment. But it is something that you plan into your travel time, knowing that when you have a country of origin that is from a non-predominantly white country, you are going to do second screening.
Did you get pulled into other rooms?
I've had that before. That's more extreme, but it's usually extra questioning. Your bags will usually get pulled aside, or you'll do like the extra pat down or just the extra questions. So it's inconvenient, but also what's interesting is now that I have kids and they've noticed it, to try to explain to them without, incorporating any fear or any kind of bias, why it happens more to mommy than it does to daddy.
What do you say to them, AM?
I just say, no, I don't. I explain to them that, Sri Lanka is a country that has had problems with war and that it is on a list. And so because mommy was born there, this is why we have the questions. What was interesting is traveling to the U.S. When the travel bans were first put in place a couple of years ago. And without us saying anything, they asked, are they going to let you across because you don't have the same skin color that we do?
Wow. How did that affect you?
You know what, I was concerned that maybe we had conveyed that to them, but also I was concerned for them that now they're looking at people's skin color based on access and not. Those kind of conversations are tough ones to have, but you have them anyway because we live in a culture, or live in a country that's very multicultural.
Right.
And again, those discussions don't happen in every household, so it's uncomfortable sometimes for people or shocking for people that these are conversations that happen all the time in some households.
And this is why I love, this is why this segment, I love it, because we can have those discussions here with families maybe who don't have that conversation. I did want to bring up some stats from this investigation. So more than 13% of people from the Middle East and 11% from African and Caribbean nations were flagged for customs issues compared to just 2.7% of EU citizens, and even lower rates from visitors from Nordic countries. So we did reach out, or Glenn McGregor did reach out to the CBSA, and they deny it conducts racial profiling. In an email to CTV, CBSA spokesperson Jaden Robertson said, all persons, including Canadian citizens seeking entry to Canada, are subject to the same rules and regulations regardless of nationality, race, and or gender. Secondary examinations are part of the normal cross-border travel process.
And what they don't put in there is that it's up to the border services officer's discretion.
Right.
So when you look at Glenn McGregor's investigation and you see the stats and you see the numbers of who's pulled over and who's not, yes, the same rules are there for everybody. My solution would be make those rules apply to everybody. Just do secondary screening for everyone. I would love for the minister to take a look at their own cabinet. Talk to the immigration minister. Talk to the status of women minister and find out, when you are traveling as a regular citizen, do you get pulled over for secondary screening? Anybody who's non-white will tell you, yes.
It is one of those things because you asked me, I have never been pulled over. You're probably not surprised by that.
Yep.
Yeah, I've never been pulled over. And if I do get questioning, it'll be, one or two questions. It's nothing.
How was your vacation? Is that your question?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. It's one of those kinds of conversations. And that's why that conversation has not happened at my dinner table because it's not, it hasn't been my experience in the forefront when I am traveling. But I think you're right. What it really comes down to is having the conversations with your friends and hearing those experiences. You don't need the stats to tell you when you've had that conversation with, you know, a friend on the left, a friend on the right, and to really just hear their own experience. I think that's a great solution.
And just
great
to
idea.
add, you know, we're not saying that white people don't get stopped, but what the stats are showing is that non-white people are getting stopped at a substantially higher rate.
And you cannot ignore those numbers.
No, we cannot.
Yeah.
So it is a conversation we are having, and we're not saying that, you know, our border services agents are not doing their jobs properly. They are protecting our safety, but at the same time, sometimes the needle does move, could be in the wrong direction. So here's the question, your hashtag, your take question, Canada. Again, this is a family discussion, so please chime in. What are your experiences crossing the border? Hit us up on our social media platforms. If you want, you can slide into the DM as well. Stay with us, more news and weather right after the break.